I'm Adam.
I'm Dan.
And we are here to list off what we believe are the top 10 best films of 2017.
Small disclaimer, it's the top 10 best that we've seen. We have not seen anywhere near every movie that came out this year, nor could we really.
So basically, we haven't seen everything, but if we were to wait around to see most of stuff that everyone has raved about, we wouldn't be doing this list till March.
If not years from now.
So these are just our top 10, basically our top 10 favorite films that we've seen in 2017. So the way this is going to work is we're going to list off our top 10. Before we get to number one, we'll list off some honorable mentions. So I say we just dive into it, and I'll let you take it off. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is Logan. We'll try to keep our description short since most, if not all, of these we did videos for.
Yeah.
But, I never thought I would see the day that, really any superhero movie, but especially an X-Men movie, would make me want to cry. And yet there I was. I didn't full-on sob, but I teared up more than once in that movie. And it comes down to Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart giving, phenomenal performances. Taking these characters that they've been playing for well more than a decade, probably 15...
It's about 17 years.
Yeah, almost 20 then. So almost 2 decades. And just, giving them the send-off, not only that they deserve, but that they've earned. It was a great movie. It's not the highest on my list, but it is the height of what I'm looking for in, an emotional impact in a superhero movie.
Okay. Number 10 on my list is Wind River.
Okay.
I went into this film not really knowing what to expect, but I remember when we saw it, it was one of those movies that we kept hearing about for weeks that it was good. Never got a wide release, and then finally 1 week, and I believe it was July, finally got the wide release, and we went to go see it. And this probably has Jeremy Renner's best performance of his career, along with Elizabeth Olsen, who's rather young. Can't wait to see what else she does in the future. But these are two performances that, in my opinion, are definitely award worthy. The story was great. The atmosphere was fucking just nail biting at times. The fucking cinematography was fucking gorgeous. It was it's one of the bleakest whodunits I've seen in the longest of times, but it's also one of the best written and most what feels like reality. It's not this big sweeping grand whodunit. It's very much feels like this happens in real life and this is how it would go down, sort of thing. And yeah, just like I said, fucking Jeremy Renner knocks it out of the park. It's the best performance I've seen him ever give. And it's one that I really hope a lot of critics and people will remember it during the award season. And it's one that stuck with me throughout the year. So that was my number 10. So let's go on to your number 9.
My number 9, I actually made a conscious effort not to completely overload my list with just superhero movies and, and nerdy stuff like that. We did see a lot this year. The problem is that this was actually quite a good year for superhero movies.
This is one of the best years,
not only in just the number that came out, but in the quality of them. And so my number 9 is going to have to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay.
I remember making my list, I had in my head kind of an internal problem in that there were several movies, there was 1 or 2 that I knew were going to be higher, and then there's several that I thought were more or less on the same level, until I remembered that Guardians 2 actually did, again, make me tear up. Once again, emotional superhero movies this year. In the story with Rocket and how, and with Yondu, and how, they have a family and maybe they don't deal with it as well, but, the idea of families that you stick together even through the bad parts of a person. And, that was great, and, it was a well-done movie. It wasn't necessarily as unexpected as the first one. We kind of knew what we were getting into with this. But I think they did it right, and they focused more on the emotion and the family dynamic, which was what it called for. And I think it was well handled. So,
all right. Number 9 on my list is going to be The Disaster Artist.
Ooh.
A film that you didn't see,
that
but film based on about the making of The Room. James Franco gives probably what is probably my favorite performance of an actor this year from a lead actor. He fucking nails Tommy Wiseau so fucking well. I mean, to the point where you're watching this movie and you lose James Franco and you just see Tommy Wiseau. Also, great performances by his brother David Franco, who plays Greg in the movie. He's fucking really good in it. Seth Rogen, who isn't in it as much as you would think from the advertisements, but still very memorable, very fucking funny. This was a film that was, you go in it expecting it's going to be nothing but laughs, but really the whole movie isn't even about the making of The Room. It's more about the relationship between Tommy and Greg, and you watching how this friendship organically grows and then kind of self-destructs at the same time. And it's an inspiring film to watch a man who basically is incompetent to make a movie somehow still make a movie though. And for me being an inspiring filmmaker and everything like that, it was a very, very touching and inspiring film to watch. And I absolutely fucking love the movie. The scenes when they show them filming The Room, and they do side by side comparisons at the end during the credits that show The Room and the scene they filmed, and it's just fucking perfect. You barely could tell it apart, and it was so fucking good. And I absolutely fucking walked out just loving the whole movie. And it's a movie that you don't have to have seen The Room or know what The Room is to really appreciate it too. That's the other thing I really like about it. So that's my number 9. So let's go on to your number 8.
Believe it or not, my number 8 is actually going to be Wind River.
Ah.
Because I really like that movie. And the reason I put it a little higher than 10 was because, I mean, I second absolutely everything you said.
Yeah.
Cinematography, acting, great performances, writing, and, and I will double down on the atmosphere, because repeating what I said both in the review and personally between us, like, it was one of the best horror movies I've seen in a while without actually being a horror movie. Like, there are parts of that movie where you're just sitting there expecting bad stuff to happen and you know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But what really got me is that it touched on real-world issues.
Yeah.
And that is actually, like, as I said, it was a good year for superhero movies. In movies in general, it was a good year for messages and, like, and giving like, lessons that make you rethink things. Now, this one isn't necessarily messing with your expectations, but it is a real-world thing. It's a problem with how Native Americans are treated and with just how they're perceived. How they're, kind of perceived as, basically, not quite the savages that maybe, like, the settlers in the old times said, but they're still kind of perceived as, like, lower. Like, they live on these reservations and they're not as sophisticated as we are. And, of course, that's completely untrue. But, it comes down to how they're treated and how they're viewed by people. And I think this movie, not necessarily that I think the movie is going to fix it, but it illustrated it, and it gave people a message that they don't usually get.
Yeah.
And that counts for a lot for me. So that's why I put it in
It shines a light on a problem that a lot of people ignore.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
It does a fantastic job.
Oh, it absolutely does. And I love the movie for that, and that's why I put it at number 8. So.
All right. So my number 8, as I told you before, when I was making this list, I redid it about 6 times. And in the process for the last couple of weeks, I rewatched a lot of movies that I'm able to rewatch. Anything that's on DVD, Netflix, or HBO or whatever. Anything I was able to rewatch, I rewatched. There's some movies that aren't out yet or haven't come out on DVD yet or are still in theaters that I didn't go see again. So basically, me rewatching stuff made this list to comprise a lot harder, because I ended up putting stuff lower that I thought was going to be higher on my list. So this is probably going to shock you, but number 8 on my list is Baby Driver.
Wow.
Again, this is probably Edgar Wright's best work that he's probably has ever done. The cinematography, the fucking action, the fucking soundtrack, everything in this is fucking almost superb. We're not going to talk about who shall not be named, Mr. Spacey, but everything about this film is fucking good. And unfortunately, I think in the eyes of award season, I think Kevin Spacey's involvement now has kind of tainted the film, unfortunately. But this film has probably the best performance from a supporting actor in Jon Hamm, who gives a performance that I did not see coming and did not expect. And now I am a fan of Jon Hamm, and I want to see what else he does, because he fucking gives a fucking bone-chilling fucking wide-eyed crazy performance that was the most memorable thing about this whole movie when I left it. And unfortunately, like I said, I rewatched it. I rewatched a bunch of other movies. Unfortunately, it was started high on the list and it got pushed down further and further. Not to say I don't love this movie. I do. Right. It's on my list, but that's my number 8.
So my number 7 is going to be 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. It is without question, one of the best written movies I've seen in a very long time. The acting is spectacular, and this one actually does fit the theme that I mentioned earlier of subverting your expectations. It takes a bunch of people who are very flawed and have just so many problems and so many things that are not good and that make them, like less than ideal people, but at the same time, almost, if not exactly every one of them, also has redeeming qualities that makes you understand where they're coming from and why they're acting this way, and that there is hope. If not necessarily, maybe they'll get there, but there is hope that they could be better, and that maybe they even should be better, and you can't really completely hate any of them, or if you start hating them, you kind of ease up at the end with some of the characters. I won't go too much into it, but as I said in our review, it is just one of the most, like I honestly and truly believe, like, writing classes, not even just screenwriting, but writing classes in general, should use this movie as a way of how to write balanced characters, of characters who have flaws but also redeeming qualities and all of those things. It was so wonderfully written, and I mean, there's plenty of other great things about the movie. You should absolutely see it, but the writing alone makes it one of the best.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 7 on my list is going to be Thor Ragnarok. Not a fan of the first 2 Thors. I mentioned that in our review. Did not know what to expect going into Thor Ragnarok. I thought it looks like it could be fun, and I got probably what was one of the funniest and probably one of the most fun superhero films I've seen in a long time. Or I've seen. It just was filled with just fucking nothing but nonstop laughs. The fucking character of Korg ended up being the fucking breakthrough character in this film. Fucking Chris Hemsworth and ends up probably giving the best performance as Thor that he's given. He's gotten now very comfortable with the role, and I think he's basically found this great balance of how to be a badass but yet be funny. Fucking Mark Ruffalo shines as Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk. He's every scene he's in, he ends up being kind of the standout in that scene. And fucking Jeff Goldblum.
Oh my god.
Who just steals every fucking scene that he's in. Was just a fucking blast to fucking watch. And anything, my own complaint for the film was that it needed more Jeff Goldblum. Action-wise, it was fucking spectacular. The whole ending of that film was just a fucking, just fun fucking film to watch. Just great action, great characters. Cate Blanchett as Hela ended up being probably what I think is probably the best Marvel villain that they've ever had. And just, yeah, it was just an all-around good time at the movies, which is all I asked for.
Yeah.
So that's why Thor Ragnarok's number 7 on my list.
All right. So number 6 on mine is actually a kids movie. I think we saw maybe 2 kids movies this year, or at least 2 animated movies.
Yeah. This was a slow year for animated
films. Yeah,
it
was, because I was going to say, most years I feel like we see more than that.
Yeah.
But this year I only saw 2, and I really only enjoyed one of them terribly much. But that one was Coco, which is my number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, once again, touching on, like, a great year for emotional moments. I mentioned a couple other movies that made me tear up. This one, I actually cried. Like, the ending of this movie was so well done. And the music is fantastic. I mean, I'm generally a fan of that style anyway. But it's so well done in this movie. The songs are done. The singing is great. And, but also it's a feast for the eyes. The visual style, it's one of those movies, you watch it and you just go wide-eyed and you're like, how? I know it's animated. I mean, I understand the actual how, but, like, who comes up with that? How do you design it that way? Like, whose head did this come out of, and how do I give them my thanks? Like, both for the music and the visuals, like, all of that is true, and I just love that movie, and really, you just have to go see it. I can't say anything else. Number 6, Coco.
All right, number 6 on my list is going to be Mother. This was a shit year for me for horror films, and this was the best horror film in the entire year, and it's not even really a horror film.
Right.
Just like how you said Wind River is the best horror film. This really isn't a horror film. If anything, this is an artsy horror film, is what it is. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky, who did The Wrestler, Requiem for a Dream. I'm a fan of some of his work. Some of his work I think is a little overrated and a little pretentious. This film, though, fucking surprised the hell out of me, because I went into this film expecting one thing and I got something fucking completely different. Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence give fucking fantastic performances. And again, in my opinion, award-worthy performances they give. This is a film that reminded me why Jennifer Lawrence is a good actress when she picks good roles and not just fucking, stupid shit that she sometimes shows up in. Like, she is a great actress. She could fucking carry a film, and she does in this film. Michelle Pfeiffer and Ed Harris, who are supporting characters, are fucking great, and this film just is a great. It's the best representation of a nightmare I could think of. It's not the traditional horror film, but like the whole movie feels like as if you are trapped in a nightmare and you can't wake up. And the last fucking 40 minutes of this film are some of the most intense, chaotic, batshit fucking 40 minutes you will sit through. And I couldn't help but sit on the edge of my seat and be in awe of the fucking thing. This film is a very divisive film to the point where a lot of people hate it, a lot of people liked it. I'm fall in that category that I love it. I took my wife to go see it, and I remember when we left, she absolutely hated the film, while I absolutely love the film. It's fucking weird. It's fucking grotesque. It's unappealingly ugly too at times, but yet it is just this fucking 2-hour, to me, masterpiece of fucking horror, and I absolutely fucking loved it.
All right, so as I said before, I made a point of not overloading my list of superhero movies, but it was a good year for them. And chief among that, chief among that, it is actually the highest rated of all of them on my list. My number 5 is going to be Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Now, Wonder Woman, to be fair, and I am, I try to be completely honest when in all things. To be fair, it is not the best made movie on my list, which is why it's not higher. And even some of the ones lower were probably held together better as movies. This movie did have flaws, but the strengths, I think, pulled it beyond those flaws. And it was yet again a movie that kind of messed with your expectations. I did not come up with this saying. I read it in an article. I forget, unfortunately, the author and the website. But they said that Wonder Woman was a superhero movie with a thesis. And I think that statement holds true. It is a movie with a message that is trying to teach you something, just as it's trying to teach its protagonist something. And I think that is the takeaway from the movie, because it is handled very well. That, there are gray areas. Not everything is so clear-cut and black and white. And sometimes you have to not only learn to live with that, but you have to decide, how you're going to deal with it, and whether it's going to make you lose what you are or going to redefine what you are. And I think that is a wonderful message. Plus, in the sea of DC movies where even the tolerable among them are just gray and, kind of annoying and bleak at times, this one was colorful, and it was hopeful and happy, and that counts for a lot. So Wonder Woman is my number 5.
All right. Number 5 on my list is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. When this film came out, I remember seeing a lot of people saying that this was a serviceable sequel, but to me, this was more than serviceable. This was a fucking fantastic sequel. It did what every good sequel needs to do, and that is it builds upon the characters that we were introduced in the first film, while also introducing us to brand new characters that we could go ahead and further, know in later sequels. It fucking expands on the relationships between fucking Nebula and fucking Gamora, fucking Peter Quill and his fucking father, fucking Yondu and Rocket. This is probably the most emotional superhero film that I've seen in the Marvel MCU. And it was just full of fucking heart and emotion. Kurt Russell gives one of my favorite performances of the year as Ego. He just seems like he's having fucking fun with it, and it's the best performance I've seen from him in a long time. This was a film that like I said, was all about family, which is something I did not expect the film to be about, and that's what the film is about. And Baby Groot is, of course, adorable in the movie. He steals the fucking movie every scene he's in. And just like fucking Rocket at the end of it, I shed a tear during Yondu's funeral at the end. And it was just a beautifully crafted, fucking fun, action-packed fucking comic book film that, to me, doesn't surpass the original, but definitely equals it. And that's why it's number 5 on my list, and that's why I think it's more than a serviceable sequel. It's fucking fantastic.
So my number 4 is going to be Blade Runner 2049. This movie is, it's a sequel, but it's a sequel that came out, almost 30 years after the original?
Yeah, almost.
A long time. So, you talked about, serviceable sequels and what good sequels should do. And I think this movie hit all those beats, but with the amount of time that went past, it had the other challenge of keeping both itself and the original relevant, and having a reason to exist. Because, you know, it's a cult classic, it's ingrained in the pop culture and everything, but man, has it been a while. And this movie knocked it out of the park in every area. It built more on the world that we saw while keeping the feel of the original. You know, despite wildly different technology and a wildly different world in real life, it just took everything and kept it very authentic feeling and looking. And I mentioned A Feast for the Eyes in the Coco section, and I'm doing it here again. Because this was another movie where, you know, I mean, very different visual styles between the two. But, man, every moment of this movie, you just want to look at it, and then you want the camera to move, and you want to, like, you just want, like, what you want is like a video game, basically, where you can just go through this whole world and see the whole thing. Because it's that amazing looking. But the acting was also fantastic. I think Ryan Gosling, who was given several great performances in recent years, this may be his best. And, you know, the writing was great. You know, the one problem with, like, the villains weren't as memorable as the original, but there was so much more to elevate it beyond that, and a good mystery, and, you know, again, it kind of subverts your expectations again in places, and just, this was, like, you know, for sci-fi fans like the two of us, and, you know, people who like the original and everything like that, this was not just the movie that it deserved, that the original deserved, this was more than what I wanted. It was amazing.
All right, so that takes me to me. We're on number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4 on my list is 3 Billboards Outside of Missouri. I went into this film and I walked out just a giant fan of it. I absolutely love the writing. This is probably has some of the most awkward and fucking bleak dialogue that you will hear, but yet fascinating at the same time. It's definitely a dialogue fest, like you said. I agree with you with the writing. It's fucking fantastic. Frances McDormand gives my absolute most favorite performance from a female this year. If she doesn't get nominated and if she doesn't win an Oscar for this, I will be very pissed off.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell as well gives a fucking fantastic performance, and it plays a character that I did not think I'd be rooting for near the end, and then near the end I was rooting for him, and he plays this character and has one of the best arcs I've ever seen in a film in recent years. This was just all around just a fucking fantastic fucking film to listen to and digest and take away the message that it tries to give you, which is that, you know, everything, you know, is, you're never gonna, you know, get that happy answer or those happy endings that, you know, you want, but we could help ourselves by making the choices that we make and make those better choices and try to be better people, you know, and learn from our mistakes is basically what this film is trying to teach us. And I absolutely fucking loved it, and that's why it's number 4 on my list.
Yeah. Okay.
So number 3.
Sorry, I gotta look at my list here, folks.
Right.
Okay, so, you know, it's weird that I have to look at my list, because I was going to start this off by saying, you mentioned how in rewatching and trying to make your list, you ended up having to remake it several times. Very much in contrast to me, because for the past couple of weeks when we started talking about doing this and knowing it was coming and just waiting for a couple of movies to come out that we were going to see, my top 3 essentially had been set since the first day. And my number 3 is going to be Get Out. When we, earlier in the year, when we did our, what was it, top 5 so far?
Yeah, we talked about the best
whatever it was.
So far.
I had forgotten Get Out. And I was actually very upset about that. Like, it didn't come through in the video because we only touched on it very briefly at the end. But I was actually really upset that I forgot it, because this movie stuck with me hard. And I enjoyed every minute of it. Like, you know, I said that Wind River was one of the best horror movies, making the joke that it's not a horror movie. This was the best horror movie I've seen in a long time. And it comes down entirely to the atmosphere, which is fantastic throughout. It comes down to the acting, which is also great. Bradley Whitford, you know, I mean, I love seeing Bradley Whitford in anything. When I saw his name pop up in the credits, I got excited. And, you know, like, the dialogue they give him in this movie is fantastic. And everything. The main character, I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately. I really should have looked it up. But I hope he gets more roles. He was amazing. The guy who plays his friend was also pretty good. The guy who plays the girlfriend was really good, too. The girl who plays the girlfriend was really good, too. But, yeah, like, I mean, everyone in the movie was great, but, and, you know, just an original story. I'm not going to say it's never been done before, but I didn't see it coming, and it was something that, you know, doesn't show up in movies at all, horror, sci-fi, whatever. And the other thing that makes it stand out is that it was from Jordan Peele, who I believe it was his first time directing anything, but regardless of that, is known for writing and acting in comedies normally. And there's funny parts to this, but it is very much a horror movie or a thriller, whatever you want to call it. And that this was his first time directing anything, let alone a horror movie, he did such a fantastic job. Like, this was a great movie by anyone's standards, but for a first-time director, just unbelievably good. And I want him to do more, and it was such a standout film. That's my number 3.
I'll touch on Get Out because I didn't like it nearly as much as you or a lot of people. I still liked it. I thought it was a very good film, but I thought it had problems. I didn't think it was nearly as good as a lot of other people make it out to be. I will agree that I do look forward to see what else Jordan Peele does, because this film to me showed so much promise, and it was a very good film. Just not good enough to make it on my list. So we're on 3, right?
Yes.
So number 3 on my list is going to be a film you mentioned a little bit ago, or a little while ago. And that's going to be Logan.
Oh, yeah.
This was the fucking Wolverine movie that I fucking wanted to see for the last 17 years. Ever since Hugh Jackman fucking donned the claws, this is what I wanted to see. This is what I've been waiting for. And he gives probably the best performance of his fucking career. If this is his last hurrah as Wolverine, he fucking went out on the highest of fucking notes. Not only him, but Patrick Stewart as well. Went out also on the highest of notes as Charles Xavier. If anything, I would really love to see Patrick Stewart get nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and I think he definitely deserves it because he is fucking fantastic in this film. Just the fucking raw emotion, the fucking blood, the fucking gore, just the fucking action, the violence in this film is everything I've wanted to see since fucking they started doing X-Men films. And it took 17 years, but god damn it, they finally got it right. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that makes me sad is knowing that that's the last one. That's the last time we're going to see Hugh Jackman play Wolverine, and he ended up making that role his fucking own and basically proved that he was born to play Wolverine. And it's just a fucking fantastic film, and it's something that came out early in the year. I think it came out in March, and it has just stuck with me ever since. And throughout the year, it was like every movie I saw, it was like I compared it to Logan. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is everything I scored and watched from that point on was like, is this better than Logan? Is what I would keep asking myself. And that's why Logan's number 3 on my list. And I also was shedding a tear at the end when Wolverine died. And it was just fucking glorious. So that takes us to number 2. So
okay. So my number 2, ironically, is a movie you mentioned a little while ago. Mm-hmm. Mine being Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I haven't rewatched it. I really haven't rewatched any of these, to be completely fair. Mm-hmm. But it's another movie that stuck with me. It stuck with me for really all the reasons you said. John Hamm just kills it. Oh my god. I can't even describe how much he kills it. The main character who plays Baby, I forget the actor's name because I'm terrible. But he was also quite good. Jamie Foxx also was very memorable.
I forgot to mention Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx was great. There is, the unfortunate taint of Kevin Spacey. However, if we try to ignore, I'm not saying you should, you don't have to, but if you try to ignore it, his performance was all right. But compared to John Hamm and Jamie Foxx, I don't even care. Like Kevin, you could have replaced Kevin Spacey with anybody, and it would have been probably just fine. Those two and the main character are the standouts for this one. But even more than them, the standout is the soundtrack. Now, it doesn't have, the recognizable 70s funk of, like, the Guardians movies, which, those connect with me on a spiritual level, essentially, because that's the music that I love. But the soundtrack to this movie, while I couldn't necessarily name it, oh man, it's toe-tapping, it fits the mood, and, it ranges from, like, modern, but kind of indie, to classic rock, to everything in between, and it's just so good.
Get a little bit of jazz, a little bit of soul.
Oh, absolutely. And like, not only is the music itself good, but then, like, it's kind of sort of choreographed, like, both the characters moving around and the driving choreographed to the music, and it's just, like, it's a wonder of editing, it's a wonder of cinematography, it's a wonder of everything. If you watch, like I said, if you watch this movie and Kevin Spacey is what sticks with you, in real life, you should absolutely be abhorred at what he did. But if you watch this movie and he's what sticks with you, you're not watching the movie right. This movie was a masterpiece of Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright.
Yeah. Okay. it's Edgar Wright's masterpiece. I mean, I hope he goes on to do more. He may well surpass it in the future, but for now, this is his magnum opus. And congratulations, sir.
Okay, so number 2 on my list is another film you mentioned earlier, and that is going to be Blade Runner
Blade
20.
Tour.
Yeah. Blade Runner 2049. I absolutely fucking love this film. This is probably the most gorgeous film I've seen this year. I have recently become a big fan of Ryan Gosling, and this film definitely proves more that he is a fucking fantastic actress. Oh, God.
It's okay, Adam.
Fantastic actor. And fucking Harrison Ford, who unfortunately does not show up until about the 2-hour mark in this film, but when he's on screen, he fucking just has a presence that you can't fucking take your eyes off of.
The first movie he's really cared about in like 15 years.
He gives just a fucking fantastic performance. Again, he's another one that like I really hope or wish he get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this movie because he definitely deserves it. Just everything about this film, the fucking slow burn, and that's the thing. This is like a almost 3-hour film. It's like 10 or 15 minutes shy of 3 hours. It's a slow burn, but it is a fucking satisfying slow burn. And just fucking the fucking detective work, the noir aspect, everything about this was just fucking fantastic, and I just loved every fucking scene. There are fucking scenes of this film I could freeze frame and fucking print out and fucking hang on my fucking wall as fucking art. That's how beautiful this film looks, and that's why it's number 2 on my list.
All right. So before we hit number 1, I figure we're going to do our honorable mentions, right?
Yep, we're going to do some honorable mentions, so...
All right.
Just name however many films you want to name.
Well, I've only got 4 that I wanted to mention honorably. Well, I'll explain in a second. But anyway, the first one is Split. Okay. It is, if ever there was an example of tour de force, this is a tour de force for James McAvoy. Fantastic performance throughout. The actual main character, the girl, I don't know her, the actress's name, she does great also, but James McAvoy steals the show. Well written, and the atmosphere is great. Then there was Murder on the Orient Express, a very fun movie. Very fun and memorable performance from Kenneth Branagh. And then I'm going to cheat and make a tie between Spider-Man: Homecoming and Thor.
I was going to say, there's no tie. This is just an
but still, like, I'm putting them both in the same level because they were essentially equal in my eyes, different reasons, different strengths, different weaknesses. They weren't, I enjoyed both movies. I didn't quite put them on the list because there were movies that emotionally impacted me more. But, as he mentioned before, sometimes all you want out of a movie is a good time and some good solid entertainment. Both these movies deliver. And my final honorable mention, believe it or not, I'm going to throw Justice League in there. Okay. Because it is a flawed movie. It is a very, very flawed movie. If you want us to nitpick, we could sit here for hours and nitpick it. But it is an improvement over Man of Steel, over Batman v Superman, over Suicide Squad. So that's my honorable mentions.
All right, so my honorable mentions, unfortunately you named like 3 of them. Oh, wow. So I won't, I'll just name them really quick. Yeah. Split is an honorable mention because I absolutely love James McAvoy's performance in that, and Murder on the Orient Express was fucking fantastic. Was a fun fucking caper to watch, and fucking Kenneth Branagh gives one of my favorite performances of the year. Yeah. But I'll mention some other, I got some extras here, so I'll mention some other ones that you didn't talk about. One honorable mention, a movie that you mentioned that's on your list that didn't make mine, is Coco. Coco is probably the best Pixar film I've seen in years. I know a lot of people loved Inside Out. I liked Inside Out. I didn't think it was nearly as good as a lot of people made it out to be. This is the film that shows me that Pixar is back on their fucking game, and they're once again delivering quality fucking films. Another one that I'll mention is Gerald's Game, which is a film on Netflix. Netflix, yeah. It's a Stephen King adaptation. It's probably the best Stephen King adaptation I've seen in a very long time. And it's fucking intense at times. It's eerie. It's creepy. And it fucking works on every level. The other one I'm going to mention is going to be Beauty and the Beast, the live action movie. I absolutely fucking adored this film. I went into this film thinking I was going to hate it because I've hated every other live action attempt on remaking Disney movies. It definitely ended up being a lot better than I had anticipated it to be. And then one other one I'll mention is Justice League. I was going to mention that. Agree with you. It's definitely a flawed film. It's not the best film, but it was definitely a lot better than I had anticipated or expected it to be. Yeah. And the last film I'll mention is just another Stephen King adaptation, and that's It. I'll mention it. I liked it quite a bit. I didn't give it the highest of scores, but it was much better than I had anticipated it to be. Because I actually thought I wasn't going to like this film. And basically, it's the R-rated Goonies that we were waiting for, which is what we all expected it to basically be.
Yeah.
So that's our honorable mention. So we're going to go into our number one.
Do we need to do this separately, or do we have the same number one?
I believe we have the same number one. I'm just going to take this off really quick.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, I don't have the shirt to reveal, but yeah. Our number one, collectively, Star Wars, The Last Jedi.
You get to go ahead and start.
Yeah, we mentioned in our review, and I will mention again, a surprisingly huge backlash against this movie. The controversy is mind-boggling, and it's mind-boggling not just because, I mean, the prequels had it, but, it still seemed like most people were just there to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, mind-boggling, not just because of that, but because I don't know how to say this without being rude, but you're all wrong, right? I don't like you do understand that when history comes back, in the decades to pass, when enough time has gone by that it's it's the same as the original trilogy to now. You're going to be laughed at. People are going to see the record of this online and just go, "What was wrong with these morons?"
Now,
I don't understand it.
I was going to say, I'll cut that in and say that, when Empire Strikes Back first came out, it was also had its fair share of people who didn't like it either.
Yeah.
And then people grew to appreciate it more and more. And I think maybe that similarly might happen to The Last Jedi, but I don't care. I don't want to talk about that.
No.
All I want to talk about is how much I fucking absolutely adore and fucking love this film. It's one of the only films that I immediately, as after I saw it, I needed to go see it again.
Yeah.
And I fucking loved everything about it. Mark Hamill gives the best performance in his fucking career, and he fucking deserves at least a nomination for this performance.
Something, yeah.
I doubt he's going to get it, but god damn it, I would love to see him fucking just at least get honored as a nomination.
Similar to what we said with Wolverine and Professor X, but even more because he's been doing this for longer. Just the culmination of a lifetime. Is what it was, and just so much about I'll actually go back and connect it to what I said before. Wonder Woman was a superhero movie with a thesis. This is a Star Wars movie with a thesis. There is a message, there is a lesson to be learned, and it does it so well. Because as I mentioned in our standalone review, I've been watching these movies essentially my entire life, and I thought for certain. I knew every beat that this movie threw at me. I thought for certain, we know where this is going. I've seen it before, and then it doesn't. Or it'll change it just enough that it's similar, but you still don't, it's still not exactly what you expected. And just brilliantly handled. Rian Johnson, one of the greats now, as far as I'm concerned.
And just everything, the choices that they make that I know a lot of people are pissed off about, and I feel like I can mention it now because it's been quite a few weeks since it's been out, but them killing off Snoke, revealing that Rey's parents are nobodies, fucking Kylo Ren seeming like he's turned to the light but then still stays in the dark, fucking the death of Luke Skywalker. Every decision they made are decisions that I did not see coming, and I, in all honesty, didn't want to see, but when they executed it so fucking beautifully that I can't be mad at it because it surprised me. It fucking made me emotional, and it fucking just had me on the edge of my seat most of the fucking time. And for a 2.5 hour film, it didn't drag, and I fucking just loved every fucking minute of it. You could fucking sit there, you could look at it, and fucking just be mesmerized by things in the background, fucking absolutely mesmerized by people's performances. Daisy Ridley, again, fucking proves that she's a fucking great actress. Fucking Adam Driver as Kylo Ren just keeps getting better and fucking better. Now, the people who hate this film, I heard the arguments. I understand where they're coming from. I kind of understand why they don't like it. And, again, I'm not going to knock on you if you don't like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's your own opinion. But don't knock on me back because I fairly enjoy the film.
For me, what it comes down to is, if you watch the movie and you just don't like it, that's fine. If you're going to sit here and start and try to argue all of these nonsense things about how, Luke isn't the Luke that we knew years ago. It's, they're destroying this, they're violating that. It's yeah, guys, time passes, things change. If you don't like a movie, you don't like a movie. If you're going to sit here and cling to these old ideas that don't work anymore, then you're the one who's wrong. And that's what the movie's trying to teach you too. That's the part that baffles me even more. That is literally the lesson that the movie teaches, and you're sitting here saying, no, I want my playthings back. Like, no, you don't get to say that. And that's what it really is. It comes down to it takes what we know and it throws it away, but then gives you back something better. Something that has the potential to build to even greater heights, and that's what I want. Like, in this thing where Disney has now promised, you're going to get a Star Wars every year, essentially. It may go, we may do more trilogies, it may go on. Like, there's a danger to that. There's a danger of burning out. There's a danger of we don't care anymore. But if they're going to do it, then this is how it has to be done. You have to take what we know and give us something new and make it something different. And I applaud that they're doing it, and I applaud that they are apparently doing it so expertly and so well done. It's a Star Wars movie with good writing, good acting, great cinematography, and it's a Star Wars movie that works as a respectable film. As someone who respects Star Wars greatly, it's weird to say that, but you know what I mean. One of the big criticisms of George Lucas is, outside of American Graffiti, he was never gonna, win any awards for what he's doing outside of special effects. But, these movies could. I doubt they're going to, but there's a chance. They actually deserve it. And that's what I love about it, is that they're not just giving us the same old thing. They're saying, we can do this better. Watch.
And that's why it's number one on both our lists. So, to recap, just list off your list just really quickly. If you want to look at it. I gotta
double check.
To recap, Dan's list is...
number 10, Logan. Number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 8, Wind River. Number 7, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Number 6, Coco. Number 5, Wonder Woman. Number 4, Blade Runner 2049. Number 3, Get Out. Number 2, Baby Driver. And number 1, Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
And my top 10 were... number 10 was Wind River. Number 9 was The Disaster Artist. Number 8 was Baby Driver. 7 was Thor Ragnarok. 6 was Mother. 5 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 4 was 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. 3 was Logan. 2 was Blade Runner 2049. And my number 1, and what I think is the best film of 2017, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. So, that's 2017 in the books. Those were our top 10. I hope you like them. I hope you appreciate them. Again, our list is probably going to be very different from what yours is. So with that, I'm going to say, please thumbs up the video if you like it. Please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more. And please leave a comment and let us know what your top 10 are or what you thought of our top 10. We probably won't be back together probably for a while because there's really nothing. It's January, and January is known as the
January's dump month, yeah.
It's dump month. Nothing usually comes out. Again, I'm not a fan of the Insidious franchise, so I don't want to go see the Insidious films. I will, however, be back with a review for I, Tonya, because I actually just saw that yesterday, and that was going to be honorable mention. But I figure I'm going to film my review for it anyway, so I'm just going to save it for that. All I'll say is that after I saw the film, I had to reconsider my top 10, and I actually considered putting it at number 10 and replacing Wind River with it. But I didn't. So you'll get my review for that. As for when we'll both be back, not really sure. Again, it just kind of depends on what comes out in the next couple of weeks. Definitely films I am looking forward to in 2018, of course, is Black Panther.
Yeah.
Since we're on Marvel, Avengers Infinity Wars. Deadpool 2, obviously.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm looking forward to Jurassic World 2. And, of course, the one I think, or I don't know how bad we're looking forward to, but, of course, we're looking forward to Solo, a Star Wars story.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibles 2.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibles 2
forgot about that.
So 2018 is looking like it's going to shape up to possibly be a good year. I hope maybe
fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Maybe it'll outdo 2017. Maybe it'll match it. Maybe it'll end up being a shitty year. I don't really know. So that's going to be it for us for right now. Again, I'll be back with I, Tonya. We'll both be back eventually. So until then, hope you all have a good 2018, and we'll be back with something eventually.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching.